Trusty Sidekick Theater Company creates new and innovative theater experiences for kids and families across New York City and beyond, often in the most unexpected places. In the past few years, our audiences have been rocketed to the moon, journeyed across the ocean to discover new worlds, braved a visit to Sleepy Hollow, and chased a runaway subway car off the map. Most recently, our productions of Shadow Play and Off the Map, both created for our youngest audience members and their families, played to sold-out crowds and earned rave reviews. When Trusty Sidekick first set out to create theater specifically designed for kids ages 2 to 5 and their families, we weren't sure quite where to start. So, we decided to enlist the help of experts in the early childhood imagination, the kids themselves.
Hi, I'm Drew Peterson.
I'm Greta Leopard.
And I'm Jonathan Schmidt.
One of our goals at Trusty Sidekick is to create high-quality, inventive theater performed by professional artists, but we want to make sure that we're also making work that really excites and connects with our young audience.
So both for Shadow Play and Off the Map, we decided that it would be fun to collaborate with 2 to 5-year-olds, since they were our target audience for those shows, by going into the classroom and drawing their ideas back into the rehearsal room during the artistic process.
What ended up coming out of this experiment was a new model for creating theater for kids by collaborating with them as part of the artistic team. Our process begins with a question that sparks the imaginations of both the artists and the kids.
With Shadow Play, we started with a question that interested us as artists, but also captivated the kids that we were working with. What happens to your shadow when you go to sleep?
The question for Off the Map came to me when I was on the subway watching kids interacting with their parents and with the maps and with the train itself and looking out the windows. So when we started our devising process and went into the rehearsal room and the classrooms, we were asking the question of, where would you take the subway if you could go anywhere?
We want to create something that's entirely original, so we think it's important not to draw on existing stories. By posing a question that offers so much possibility, we're able to create truly unique stories that have never been told before.
Ready with an imaginative question, we enter the first phase of development. We assemble a diverse group of artists to explore the question, first on their own, and then in the classroom.
So in our first week of research and development, we had quite a few multidisciplinary artists in the room, puppeteers and theater makers, and we just experimented with all different ways to play with shadows. And I think what was really exciting about that week was we came away with this sort of seed planted that we really wanted to use multimedia, just our use of video and small scale and large scale. We were really excited by it.
After we finished an initial research and development phase with the artists, we actually designed workshops to go into the classrooms to collaborate with the young people and design activities that allow them to, on their feet, explore the content that we've been exploring in the rehearsal room and answer questions for us that we have as we are figuring out what the story is about.
The first time we went into the classroom, we really were interested in if the kids recognized what a shadow was. We would project a shadow of a chair, and they'd say, that's a chair, and it didn't really matter what a shadow was. They knew what the thing was, so the character of Shadow in the play became my friend.
I remember in the first week of development for Shadow Play, we experimented with using a flashlight, and it's a ball of light that we actually manipulated with our shadows on a huge wall. And we used that as when we went into our first workshops with the kids. And after this workshop where kids were able to basically see their shadows lift this ball of light, one kid said, "It looks like we went to the moon. It looks like our shadows went to the moon," which sparked us in an entirely different direction for the rest of our development on Shadow Play.
The initial devising team for Off the Map included poets and puppeteers and performers and designers. We knew that the train was going to figure into the show somehow. We weren't sure exactly how it would be portrayed, so we spent a lot of time exploring the space and figuring out different ways that we could create the image of the subway, whether that was by playing with scale or by setting up a large track system or having someone make the sound of the train. And we started to get an idea of our impressions of the subway and started to wonder what it was that kids got excited about when they got on the subway. So we headed into the classrooms asking them about their own experiences.
In these workshops, we're going in with the structure, but we really don't know where we're going to get to. After one of the kids offered that our shadows go to the moon, we began to develop a whole series of new workshops in which we actually took the kids to the moon on a journey and asked them to tell us how we got there. And every step of the way, they would pose the answer.
So what could help us? What could help us get there?
Things like a pogo stick and wings and a ladder and a bow and arrow. and all of them made it into the show. It was really, really fantastic, productive day.
When we finally got to the moon, there was one class that all they wanted to do was dance there. And that completely informed how we imagined the moon and what happened on the moon, because once you get to the moon, you dance.
We had a similar experience with Off the Map, that we found these locations that the train was going to visit in our early workshops, and then we were able to go back to the classroom and ask the kids, who do we meet when we go to the ocean, and who do we meet when we go to the jungle, and how do we get the train back on track after it falls off. And one student suggested that we put it on a whale and spout it back on its track, and then another class came up with the idea that we would lure it back in using pizza.
We spent a significant amount of rehearsal time after that trying to figure out how we realize those ideas with a variety of artistic disciplines in the room, from video to music to puppetry and different storytelling styles. Once we have enough to go on, we go back to the classroom, sort of test those ideas out and ask more questions. The 2 to 5-year-olds are actually helping us develop both the narrative, so what's happening in the story, but also offering ideas that inform our design.
For shadow play in that second and third workshop, we brought in projections, so we were projecting a moon on the ceiling of this classroom, and just their wow factor was so large, and we were like, well, this is something worth pursuing. And Off the Map too, when the monkey came out, and that was the monkey that made it into the show.
Right.
That was a real moment of, this guy's great.
One of our artists, Julia, just asked the students, we were exploring the jungle, and she said, what is the jungle made of? And the kids said, books and leaves. And so when I went back to start to try to design the jungle and the puppets that would exist in the jungle, I decided to only use paper and torn up books.
It's really exciting to see the audience come to see the final show, the product that we've been working on over the course of a year, and watch the 2 to 5-year-olds experience the show that some of them had helped create, and other 2 to 5-year-olds who are brand new to it.
I think it's really rewarding to watch the show while we have an audience full of kids and their parents, and hear the kids giggling at specific parts in the show, and then realize, oh right, those are the parts that were created by kids.
Most of them in the audience is their first experience seeing live theater, and they come into our productions with no preconceived notions of what theater should or can be, and just experience the story of it as if it's really happening to them. So we're really excited to keep playing with this model and figuring out how to collaborate with our target audience to keep making work that really excites them and feels completely connected to their experience when they see it in the theater.